Okay, guys, good morning. Welcome to Basic. I'm going to give it another minute, see if more people show up, but we're going to continue to work on probability, and we're going to look at what's called tree diagrams this morning.
Way back and low.
Okay. So what I did at the top, you guys, yesterday we talked about experimental probability versus theoretical. So if you can think about when you do experimental, just like science, you're doing an experiment to see how things turn out. And that's why sometimes when you flip a coin, you would think if you flipped it 10 times, 5 would be heads, 5 would be tails, but that doesn't always happen. That's why you do the experiment to see. But I'm going to talk about flipping a coin 3 times up here. So your 3 possible outcomes, it could be heads and heads, could be tails and tails, or it could be heads and tails. So if you flip a coin 3 times, those are only the 3 possible outcomes. It could land on heads twice, it could land on tails twice, or it could land on heads once, tails once. Okay, so what I've got down here, you can see there's a spinner. So if we spin this twice, I want to look at the possible outcomes. Okay, so if we spin it twice, it could come out AA, could come out AB, and it could come out AC. Then it could come out BA, BB, and BC, or it could come out CA, CB, and CC. So those are the possible outcomes if we spin this spinner twice. Okay, so one time it's going to be A, B, and C. And below that, it could possibly be AA, AB, or AC. It could be BA once. So let me move this up a little bit. And same thing down here. It could be A, B, and C. So you spin it once, it could be A. And the second time, it could be A, it could be B, or it could be C. Say you spin it, it lands on B. The second time you spin it, it could be A, it could be B, it could be C. You spin it one time, it lands on C. The next time, it could be A, B, or C. So what is the probability, if I ask you the probability, which will be P, of it landing on B twice, 2 times? So if we look up here, do I see BB? And I do. One time, it could be BB. So how many outcomes are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the probability of landing on B twice would be 1 out of 9 times. Okay. Then what about at landing probability, and P is going to be probability. So when you see a P right here, that means the probability. And the next one of at least one A. So we know we spun it 9 times. So 9 is always going to be the bottom number. So what we'd have to do is we'd have to go over here and find all the ones with A. So there's 1A, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 possible combinations with it coming out A. So this would be 5 out of 9 times. And the last one I would ask is the probability of no C. So how many of these combinations have no C? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 combinations without a C, so it would be the probability of that happening would be 5 out of 9 times. Okay? So let's do one more thing here. If you go to the movies and the concession stand offers buttered and unbuttered popcorn in 3 sizes. So where there's going to be a small, medium, and large. So let's look at the combinations. We're going to do a tree diagram. So there's buttered, and that's going to be, there's a small option of buttered, there's a medium, and then there's a large. In unbuttered, the same thing. There's going to be a small option, there's going to be a medium, and then there's going to be a large. Okay, so if I asked you, so we look at this, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different options of how you want your popcorn. We have 3 different sizes for buttered and 3 different sizes for unbuttered. So you get 6 different options when you go to, say, the movie theater, okay? So if I ask you, what is the probability, once again, P is going to stand for probability of getting buttered popcorn. Well, there's 6 total options, and how many are buttered? 3. So the probability of buttered would be 3 out of 6, or if we reduce that, it's 1/2. Okay, and my next one, the probability of getting a large. So if we look up here, I'll put it in red. There's 1 option of large there and 1 option there. So there's an unbuttered large and there's a buttered large. Remember, there's 6 options total, so the probability of large would be 2 out of 6, and if reduce that, it's 1 out of 3. And the last one I'm going to ask you is, what is the probability of getting a small with no butter? Okay, small, unbuttered. Right now, there's only, that would be 1. There's only 1 way you can get that. So that one is going to be 1 out of 6. So the probability of getting a small popcorn with no butter would be 1 out of 6. Okay. And you guys, the reason we call this a tree, you can kind of see each one of these lines is kind of a branch. So that's when I refer to like a tree diagram. Each of these is kind of a branch. It represents a tree. There's branches of the probabilities. So, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and post some practice for tree diagrams. You can just refer to this. Basically, it's just asking about options. And you would just kind of split. You can do a couple ways. You can do like I showed you that first one about the spinner. I'll just show you what you can do. The spinner, if there were three, if it was A, B, and C, we had like a little arrow there. You can list, so you can write AA, AB, AC. Remember, we're spinning this twice. Then you can do BA, BB, BC, CA, CB, or CC. Or you can do the tree diagram where so these are your first spin. The first spin, one time it lands on A, one time it lands on B, one time it lands on C. Then the second one, it could be A, could be B, or it could be C. So if you spin it the first time it lands on B, the second time your options are it could be A, could be B, or could be C. And similar, if we spin it, it lands on C the first time. The second time it could land on A, B, or C. And what I did up here, I just kind of listed all the possible outcomes. So that's listing them, and down here, you're just kind of using a tree diagram of what could happen. And if we did like, we were flipping a coin, if you have heads, tails, we're going to flip it 2 times. The first one would be heads. Second time it could be heads, or it could be tail. Here it could be tails the first time. The second time it could be heads. Second time it could be tails. Okay, that's just a way of doing kind of a tree diagram for you. So I will go ahead and post some practice for you. And remember, you guys, when they say the P of something, P just represents probability. Okay, that's what that means. Sometimes they might not spell out probability. They'll just say the P of something, and that means probability. Okay, you guys, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.
No, I have worked.